into Rivian's run, its face has become pretty iconic. You look here and you see this vertical headlight and then light bar across the front, and overall simple look. And to most people by now, they're just like, oh, that's a Rivian. In fact, its future models like the R2 and R3 follow a similar design. And overall, it's very chic and muscular looking. You know that this is a off-road ready truck. Down the side, it's clean sheet and boxy, again, to give it that tough truck aesthetic. And as you see, we have retracting handles on there that give it a more clean figure, and then a very prominent Rivian badge that really pokes out from the C-pillar. And then we have 20-inch wheels on this model with Pirelli Scorpion all-terrain tires. They're particularly meaty looking, and those are surrounded in black plastic cladding, which of course bolsters its off-road aesthetic. And the clean sheet design continues out back on normal Illinois' bulky bruiser. It's very sleek across here. I dig the red light bar across the middle with the prominent Rivian badging right below it, and then you can see that there's not a whole lot of overhang back here, and that's to improve its off-road departure angle. So when you're going up a steep hill, there's not a whole lot of bodywork back here to make contact with the earth. And by the way, here's a neat little piece of information for you. We've got the Rivian gear guard down below here. He's sort of like a reoccurring character throughout the vehicle. You see him in the infotainment screen and obviously right here. He's kind of like Microsoft's Clippy, but less annoying. You've got a handful of powertrain choices when it comes to the R1S. So it starts out at $533 if you just get a dual mode 850. That's a sizable number. That's a lot. Why would you need any more than that? Oh no, you can go a lot more. You can get the quad motor, which is a motor on each wheel, and that works out to 1,025 horsepower. Now, if you go with that base powertrain, then range is just 258 miles. But if you go with a max battery pack on it, that moves up to 410, which is a highest for the model. But then if you go with the tri-motor, that's 371 miles, move up to the quad, that's 374. And speaking of battery packs, the standard one is 92.5 kilowatt hours, move up to the mid-grade, that's 109, and move up to this big brute and you get 141.5 kilowatt hours. And when it comes to charging, we have a NACS charger, which is pretty much the standard nowadays. It's hard to find a new EV in 2026 that doesn't have that. And the peak DC fast charging rate is 210 kilowatts. Pricing for the 2026 Rivian R1S starts at $78,000. Now, that varies quite a bit depending upon which battery you choose. It can actually range as much as 20 grand above that price if you want to go with the biggest battery. If you fancy the tri-motor, well, that's $98,000, and then moving up to the quad motor, that brings up to $124,000. When you plop yourself down inside the 2026 Rivian R1S, you're met with some very, very cool interior materials. Rivian prides itself on having ecologically sourced and environmentally friendly stuff throughout, and it definitely shows. Notably, we've got this large swath of beautiful darker brown wood across the dashboard, and it's not just a big slab of wood. It has like metal inlays, and then even inside of that there's a woven bit. It looks really cool. And then when you look across everywhere else, there's wood in other places, particularly on the door cards and on the center console, but then you're surrounded by a lot of vegan leather. It's quite comfortable and really looks nice. It's got prominent stitching, and I really like that not only is the mix of materials on the dash, but it's also in the seats. You really do start to notice the details when you look at them for a while. And then otherwise, it's generally pretty simple. It's spacious. I mean, I'm 6'3" and I've got all the room in here. And then because this is a truck where you're up a little bit high, yeah, I mean, I've got very good elbow room and leg room is amazing, and it's really easy to achieve a comfortable driving position in here, even if I wasn't so tall. Actually, I will say that the amount of adjustability you've got in the seat and in the steering wheel is quite good. Anyone can achieve a very comfortable driving position. And speaking of space, there's a lot of cubbies going on in here. Not only do we have this center armrest that's very deep, you can fit a lot in there, but then when you press a button in the middle console, cup holders pop out. Then down below those cup holders, we have a drawer that folds out, and then in front of there is a large open area. It's not really a cubby because it doesn't really have sides to it, but you have the ability to put like a bag, a purse, takeout, whatever. And it's also rubberized down below so stuff doesn't rattle and move around as much. But then in the doors, there are large cubbies as well. And upon first glance, you might think those aren't large cubbies. It looks like you can barely keep a map in there. But they fold out, and you do have the ability to not only put a big bottle in there, but have a big bottle that's supported, that's not going to rattle around as you're ripping up and down the trail. For charging devices, we have two USB-C chargers in the center armrest, and then dual charging pads just in front of them, and plus, neat little detail, there's a little slot we can set a phone here very easily when it's not being charged. Speaking of phones, this car does not come with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which, shocking, I know. It's like, what car doesn't come with that these days? Okay, some GM cars do. But the good news is, this is an awesome system that has a lot of cool integration, so let's dig deeper into that. So, situated within the Rivian R1S's 15.6-inch infotainment screen is a myriad of different applications, adjustments, and more. I really like having gauges as my default screen. You can check out some cool information and then get around the different driving modes. However, you can dig deeper into Rad Tuner, where you're able to change throttle responsiveness, regen, steering assist, even ride height and damping force, everything by just touching and moving it up and down. And it's really cool because it shows you on a little graph all those little changes being made. And really, yeah, you just quickly move it up and down, and depending upon where you're at, heck, even if you're just driving around the neighborhood, it's fun to see what changes when you move things up and down, especially regen, because that's very useful in a city driving environment. But if you really want to customize the feel of how this thing takes on trails, oh man, it's just instantaneous. It's really fun to use. And thankfully, the tech in the cameras matches the overall tech of the vehicle. It's a very nice high-definition screen, and just looking around and seeing your surroundings is very simple, and you can change the different viewpoints very easily. And then move over to Gear Guard, which again, that's that like clippy, like grimace looking guy. It shows you different clips that it makes of, oh, there's action happening around your vehicle, and it keeps a record of that. Again, in case somebody comes by and acts some miscreant and decides to steal your stuff, you've got record of it in there. And bolstering that screen-centricness even further, you get into your climate control, which you just click on the side. It is dual zone, but you click either, and it brings up a menu of all your different adjustments. You can change fan speed, of course, and what I like is you can click on the different vents and aim them around on the screen. There aren't little bits to move like in the vents themselves, which is common on pretty much every other vehicle. I will say, too, that this has heated and ventilated seats plus a heated steering wheel, and these seats in general are just so comfortable. I could spend hours in this thing, really maximize that range capability in these seats, wouldn't be an issue at all. And finally, we have a digital instrument cluster, which gives you all the basic information you need to know, like range, battery percentage, things of that nature. And it also has blind spot cameras, so when you go to move, it shows you what's going on in your blind spot, and that's a nice little feature for sure. Here in the second row, all those nice materials that we get up front are here as well. Notably, this really cool woven material on the front seats, and then that continues down to this seat pocket, which normally we don't highlight in these videos, but here it's kind of cool because it's got a lot going on, and it feels very quality. And then the same faux leather seats as well for maximum comfort. And I would like to point out that the floor mats, they're a really cool design. They look neat, but also they're very forgiving if you have children or you get them a bit dirty from off-roading. In the middle, we've got two cup holders, pretty standard. And for charging, we not only have two USB-C chargers down below, but also one in the back of each seat headrest. Some other neat things going on back here. There's a household outlet. It's a bit hidden, but it is underneath here. And then the center screen down below controls the third climate zone. Interestingly, there's some things you can change here and there. You can pause and play the music, whatever, but it also has 4 heated seats. That's right, you can heat this seat, that seat, and then the 2 rear ones as well. As far as how I fit back here, my tall self, it's comfortable. It's not obviously as comfortable as up front, but I've got nice legroom seated behind my seating position. And then my headroom is bolstered by the fact that we have this electronically dimming gigantic panoramic sunroof. It lets in some really nice natural light. And by the way, the seats are pretty adjustable back here. Not only can they recline very easily, but look how much they can slide forward. And then this wouldn't be a proper video unless we threw me back here in the way back, and honestly, it's not bad at all back here. We positioned the seat, the second row seat, so that an average person would be comfortable there, and I still got good legroom, so that's cool. And then the fact that I have my own sunroof back here helps with headroom quite a bit, no issues there. And in terms of amenities, I've got a USB-C charger in this armrest, and then one on the other side, and then each side gets a average size cup holder as well. So, kicking off cargo space, let's talk about the frunk. And here we have 11 cubic feet worth of space. A cool thing about the floor is it's reversible. You get a grippy material, but on the other side you can have a softer material, whichever you prefer. And then underneath we have some storage compartments with a space for charging cable and other little things that you don't want rolling around. So let's talk about cargo room in the way back. Here we have 17.6 cubic feet with the third row up. Not bad, not bad. You do get some hidden storage down below as well. But then when you drop the third row, you get 46 cubic feet. Drop both rows and it expands to 104.7 cubic feet. Not bad at all. And the fun doesn't stop there. Over on the left, there's a household outlet as well as a 12 volt. Down below is an air compressor, and then you can also electronically actuate the rear seats, which is nice for, you got a handful of stuff, you just need to hit something really quickly to load cargo in and out. That's nice. By the way, I lowered this to begin with. It's really cool that this thing has a split liftgate. It's nice to just be able to drop down this and have a seat on it and change your shoes, or just park it at the beach and have a nice view. It's cool. I wish more SUVs had this feature. Oh, and one more thing. Speaking of storage and cubbies, there's a flashlight hidden in the door here. Pretty nifty. So you might be asking, what does 1,025 horsepower feel like? Well, it feels intense. Yeah, no, that's wild. I mean, 0 to 60 is like 3 seconds. I think if you really go for it, you can get a little bit less than that. It's insane. This thing is just very, very fast, always plenty on tap. Of course, because it's an EV. We don't have to worry about torque curves and things like that. Yeah, no, this thing it's intense. It's nice to have. And honestly, otherwise, if you don't want to just jam your foot down on the accelerator pedal, it's very nice to drive. Just a little bit of squeeze of the throttle, and the progression of power is nice. You really can drive this like a normal everyday car and not just a hot rod everywhere. And that's nice, because a lot of EVs out there, yeah, they also have similar throttle progression, but it's a little too easy to like jam on the throttle and get that instant torque, and it can become a little unsettling. But this thing is very pleasant. And then speaking of that throttle pedal, the 3 levels of regen, or like I mentioned earlier, that very customizable regen adjustment, it's nice. I have it currently on full regen, and if you just lift off a little bit, it's exactly what you want to slow down for a corner or whatever. And it is true one pedal driving as well. I'm coming off the throttle now and it's off, and we've come to a stop. So I like it on full blast, full regen. Obviously, if someone doesn't want regen, they can have it on not at all. It's nice to have that kind of customizability. So when it comes to ride quality, this thing does have air suspension. In fact, it was retuned for the 2025 model year, and the handling is great. Really no issues. It doesn't feel like we're cruising in a big truck with gigantic all-terrain tires. This thing can get through this road just as quick as a lot of more like high-performance sports SUVs. Like, this is sport mode and it's not even that bouncy. If I then move to conserve, which is a little bit softer and the power isn't as immediate, the throttle tuning is a little bit more easier going, the ride does soften up a bit and it rides like a cloud. And speaking of it not feeling like a gigantic EV SUV, the steering ratio is so good. I mean, you come into a corner, particularly this one, you just give it a little bit of turn and it follows through the corner just fine. The body structure, you can tell, is very stiff, so that helps it along as well, but this ratio really feels nice. It makes wielding this thing's bigger dimensions and large curb weight very, very easy. Doesn't really take a whole lot of effort at all. And it's not like it takes a whole lot of effort in that it's too soft or too easy. I like the action to it. You feel, yeah, you're not getting a whole lot of communication. It doesn't really change a whole lot in weight, but still, it just feels nice. When it comes to overall daily ability, so getting up to speed with traffic and dealing with bumpy roads and maneuvering through parking structures and things like that, this is great. Rivian definitely did their homework in making sure that this thing is just as drivable on-road and everything you ever encounter there as it is off-road. And when it comes to customizing your driving experience, there are 4 on-roads and 5 off-road. I personally like to keep it in conserve because you maximize your range, and again, this thing at peak has 1,025 horsepower. There's plenty of get up and go no matter what mode you're in, and it still handles very well and comfortably. Speaking of all those modes that we have, there is an option to do a kick turn where it essentially, the conditions have to be right, and I think you have to be on a flat surface, but you hit the button and this thing does like a tank turn, like it spins around in place, kind of like the Mercedes G-Wagon EV can do, and that's pretty neat. Unfortunately, we're not able to do it here, but if you get your hands on one of these, definitely give it a try. It's interesting, when you look at this truck from the outside, it's kind of tall and it's got the short overhangs and it looks kind of boxy, and you think like, maybe it's not that easy to see out of. It might be tough looking over your shoulder, especially with the smaller rear window. And that's really not the case. When I look over and I see over my shoulder that way and that way, I can really get a good idea of what's going on around me. And then I do have a really nice big panoramic view of the road ahead. I get a little bit of hood, but it's not enough to really make me misjudge and be concerned about where the front bumper is. So that's nice. Cool, brawny looks, excellent interior amenities and comfort, awesome power, and just overall excellent driving dynamics. The 2026 Rivian R1S is a luxurious EV SUV that's just as capable on-road as it is off-road, and it has excellent range and charging to boot. For more information on the 2026 Rivian R1S or any of its competitors, click the link in the description down below. And thanks for watching.